So today we are going to learn polymorphism. So what is polymorphism? How many types we have? How it is going to be used? But all of them we are going to learn from this concept. So polymorphism means the naming convention. If you see polymorphism, poly means many, morphism means forms. So whatever you are going to write, so it's mainly for methods related. So here we have two kind of polymorphisms. One is compile time level polymorphism, another one is runtime level. So what is meaning of compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism? Runtime polymorphism. So compile time polymorphism means whatever the method you are going to be write, it will be taken care by during the compilation time. That means if you write a method, so the same kind of method is going to be used in the same class with the different arguments. So if you see before Java, if you want to write multiple methods with the same kind of functionality, so at that time, what you need to do, you have to give a different method names. Let's take method 1, 2, 3, 4. Likewise, you have to use. You don't, if you give it same method name for multiple methods, it won't allow to access. So it will give you a compile time errors during compilation time. But in Java, it's quite different. So whenever you are going to write any method with the same name, it will accept it. It won't give any issue at all. But one condition is it here. So what is that condition? We will learn. Before that, let's see that what is method signature. So here method signature means method name plus arguments. So what does mean? Let's take I have a method. I have a method. That method name is my method. So this is my method name and arguments. I'm passing the arguments to this method like int a comma int b. So int c, let's take it is three arguments is having this method. So whatever the method I'm passing, a, b and c plus method name, this entire thing is called it as a method signature. Method signature means method name plus arguments. This call it as a method signature. So this terminology you should remember because we are going to use multiple times the same word method signature. Okay, so method signature is nothing but method name plus method arguments. So what is overloading? Okay, so overloading in the sense, so this overloading will be within the class. I have a class that is public class, is just a my class. So here you are going to write method multiple methods like method 1. So here method 2, sorry, method 1, method name should be same. So polymorphism, when you're going to talking about, method name should be same. Okay, so and int a method 1 int a comma float b. If you notice, the method name is same but is changing the arguments. Okay, so these kind of things is called it as a overloading. Overloading means the method name is same and the arguments is going to be differ. And one more thing, this overloading or compile time polymorphism, okay, will be happen within the class. Within the class level is going to be happen. So here, whatever the arguments you are going to pass, int a, int a, comma float b, float a. So these all are, if you notice, the method name is same. Method name is same. But if you see that previous, see This kind of way, if you write it, it won't allow you. So that is the one of the advantage in Java. So here the arguments is going to be changed. So if you come back to the overloading, two methods with the same name, it's also called it as a, there is a different names. Some of them will call it as compile time polymorphism, early binding, overloading. This all is same meaning. Okay, and method resolution will be taken care by compiler. Okay, so that means method resolution. Whatever the arguments and method name, we call it as a method signature. So that signature validating and taking care by compiler. And when you're passing the arguments, so how you are going to pass the arguments for this one? First you need to make the object. So that means my CLS. So my CLS is the reference. New my CLS of is the constructor. So here my CLS dot method 1. If I give it like this, that means the first method is going to be invoke from this class. So here all these methods, just imagine all these methods is having implementation. Okay, so I'm calling method 1 with no arguments. So that means this is going to be invoke. The next thing is my CLS dot method 1 with 10.5 f. If I give it like this, the last method is going to be invoke. And based on the arguments, let's take if I give it the next one as 10. So I have 10 that is integer related. Whatever the argument I am going to pass it, so it will invoke associated one. So this is for the first one is going to be invoke. This is for last one because the type is the floating type, float value. So whatever value I am passing, this is float related. So if I give it only 10, first it will look for is there any integer related method? Yes, already it has. So then that will invoke. But in this scenario, I am passing as a float value. So then float related is going to be invoke. So this is the one related to be overloading. So overloading is having some rules. So those rules are whatever the method name and arguments you are passing is a signature should be different. Okay, if you use the same signature, let's take here integer a, method 1 is the name, then compiler will give the compilation error. And another thing, whatever the value you are passing, let's take you are passing as a 10, there is no method. Let's take this method is not there. And if you are passing one more entry like my CLS dot method 1 like this. Let's imagine this method is not there. Whatever the method 1 integer a is not there. Then how it is going to be invoked? So here it will be taken care by compiler. It will look for what is the next data type hit here. So integer next data type is float is there. So that means this going to be invoke it. This float related implementation is going to be invoked. So who is going to take in care for that? You are actually passing an integer value, but here it is having the float related method argument. So this conversion will be taken care by compiler. Then it is going to be invoke at backend. So this kind of feature is also available in Java. So it will taken care at a compile time level. So one thing, the overloading and overriding, you should remember whenever you are talking about within the class. Okay, so within the class level, that is overloading. So overriding is it will be in different class. That is parent and child relation. So there we will see how it looks. So and another thing is the return type. Whatever the return type you have, let's take this return type. Here it is void, and let's take this is integer, and this is again void, and this is integer. So whatever the return type it has, no matter what kind of return type you are doing for this method, so it will be taken care automatically. There is no issue with the return type. The next thing is access modifiers. So access modifiers are, it's, let's take this is the public. The next one is private, and you're not defining anything. That means default. If it is protected, so no matter what kind of access modifier you used, it won't worry about it. Okay, so that is one thing. There is no access modifier issue with this kind of overloading. So what kind of access modifier you used, it will be taking care automatically. And return type, no matter what kind of return type you used, only it will consider about method signature. So that is one of the rule will be follow in overloading. And exceptions and all is will be, no matter what kind of exception it is going to throw, automatically it will taking care at compilation time, and it will be dealing with the overloading with the method signature. Okay, so that is overall about method signature. Let's have look one example for that. We will move on to the next overriding concept after that. We write one program for that. Java class here, overloading example, public static void main. So before that, let's write it multiple methods. Public void my method 1, my method with 0 arg. Okay, 0 arguments. The next thing is, let's write another method with the same name. So here I'm not going to be write any access modifier. I'm just writing my method 1. If you notice, I'm using the same method name with the same argument. That means method signature is same for two methods. Then compilation error came. So here my method with 0 arguments, my method with 0 arguments. So that is what it is saying, compilation error. So if you see, my method 1 is already defined in overloading class. So that means same method signature should not follow. So for that, if I'm going to give it as int a, see, there is no compilation error, but I'm using the same method name with the different arguments. So then no compilation. So my method 1 with single argument. The next thing is, I'm just using public here int my method 1 with float a. System.out.println my method 1 with single arg. If you see, it has a compilation error. Okay, so in this case, if you place the cursor, it will tell you. So missing return type. So here I have integer type. So what I will do, instead of system.out.println, I will, so next I'm going to be return value, that is by default I'm just giving as a integer type return value as a 10. So my method is returning value 10 with printing some string. Okay, single argument with single float argument. So it is giving 10 is the return type, and the method signature is different. This method name and argument, see here, it is integer type, it is float type. Okay, so likewise you can write it multiple. Okay, so I'm writing int float and a default, and let me write one more like multiple arguments. Okay, so here public void my method 1 int a int b sys out add a plus b. Okay, so here you should put it like this, otherwise it's going to be append because it is a string type. Okay, so I have three kind of methods, sorry, four kind of methods. One is zero argument, there is no argument for that. Single argument with integer type, and another single argument with the float type, and two arguments are integer type. So this is one of the example for overloading. If you see, everything is in within the class level. So when you're going to invoke, okay, so first you should create the object, that is overloading new overloading of overloading dot. See here, what are the methods I have, all of them is listing here. So method 1 with zero argument, return type is void. Method 1 integer with the void return type. So method 1 float type with the integer return type. Likewise it is listing all of them. So these all are is from object class. Okay, yesterday's class if you remember, so we have a parent. Okay, for every class we have a object is the parent, so that is the reason object related methods all are listing here. See, till here it's 11 will be there. So these all 11 methods is coming from object class. Okay, so our methods are these four: my method, zero argument, integer argument, float argument with int comma int is different argument type methods we are using. So let's call it the first one. So now it should display my method with zero argument. Let's run this one. Run it here. It's my method with the zero argument. So the next thing is system.out.println. I wanted to be display this one. Okay, my method 20 point, that's a 20f. So 20f means, see, if I pass it like this, it's giving error. Okay, so why it is giving error? Because integer type, the next precision order will be float. Integer, the next value will be, next data type will be float. So already two kinds of things are there, integer and float. So that is the reason it is giving error. You should specify that it is a float kind of method I'm invoking. If I give it f, so then float related method is going to be invoked. If I run, I can see float related with the zero argument also another method data. So this is the way you can call it. One thing if you notice here, whatever the access modifier you are calling, it's not restricting. So that means in the overloading, no matter what kind of access modifier you used for that method, there is no issue with your access modifier. The next thing is, here it is return type. Okay, return type also it is won't worry about it in the overloading concept. Only thing is method name and signature is the important thing. So here my method one, if you see that same method name is used multiple areas. So this is called it as a overloading.